Rioting has been a notable part of RuneScape's history since more or less the very beginning of the game. Although things like location, riot gear, and so on have changed over the years, riots have almost always happened as long as Jagex is making decisions that could be considered controversial. This video covers 5 of the biggest and most impactful riots in RuneScape history, and in some cases, although very few cases, Jagex's response to the riot. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Number 5. The Rule 7 protest. This was a small riot that happened a pretty long time ago, all the way back on January 2nd, 2007. Basically, what Rule 7 was a new rule introduced that banned all third-party clients from RuneScape. This ban included a popular client by the name of SwiftSwitch. The client itself contained a database of RuneScape maps, guides, built-in screenshot software, skill goals, and so on. The riot began mainly in World 27 Falador. Some of the riots moved to the Ice Plateau as telegroup spells were cast on the rioters. On free-to-play worlds such as World 81, smaller gatherings happened in places like Varrock Square. Outside the game on the RuneScape forums, the rant section reached about 500 online users, which was pretty major for the time. Almost all of them were complaining about the ban of the custom clients. I included this riot for 2 main reasons. The first one being that this is one of the very few riots to ever actually have an effect on Jagex's decision making. Rule 7 was eventually changed and custom clients were unbanned. This is the reason that a new version of SwiftSwitch, known as SwiftKit, is allowed to exist. The second reason I've included this is because of the custom old school clients popping up. The concerns of clients including keyloggers, malware, and so on are growing. It's rumored that some clients have stolen passwords, others have leaked IPs, and other very shady stuff. This is exactly what custom clients were accused of right before the introduction of Rule 7 all the way back in 2007. If Rule 7 did get reenacted due to security concerns, it would most definitely become old school's biggest riot ever. Number 4. The Rock Climbing Boots Riot. This riot occurred for one main reason: Jagex's manipulation of the player-controlled market. Back on June 24th, 2010, Jagex introduced the Quiet Before the Storm quest. Ironically enough, I think the name fits pretty well with the riots that followed. Part of the update included a change to the item climbing boots. Climbing boots were updated to be rock climbing boots, and the market price was changed from just a few hundred GP all the way to 75k. This update literally made people millionaires overnight. Climbing boots were previously a popular item to use in PKing because their stats were good and they were cheap. So that meant some players actually just had thousands of the item, either meaning they PK'd people that had them a lot, or they just didn't want to rebuy them when they lost theirs. It's even rumored that some players actually knew about this update before it happened, as someone in Jagex told them. This was never actually confirmed though. As you can imagine, players were mad. Really mad. Riots broke out on World 66 Falador Square, and spam brought the forums to an absolute crawl. As a result, this time around hundreds, maybe even thousands of players got muted for spamming, or just banned from the forums entirely. Number 3. The Evolution of Combat Riot. This riot was the final moments of RuneScape 2. The riot itself didn't have a massive turnout, as the player count continued to dip as the update got closer. Regardless, it's still one of RuneScape's most important riots. Hundreds, maybe thousands of players flooded Falador Square and slowly watched the system update timer tick down. In other areas of the game, such as the Grand Exchange, a JMod spawned a bunch of zombies right in the middle of a crowd of rioters. As you can see by the video footage, that JMod's name was Mod Mike. Even after clearing all the zombies away, the riots just continued on as normal. It was too late, but players hoped they could still change Jagex's minds. The timer hit 0, and RuneScape was forever changed. The Evolution of Combat, RuneScape's radically different combat system, was live. And there was no going back. Although it may not have caused the reintroduction of old combat with old school RuneScape, it definitely proved there was massive interest in it. Number 2. The Pay-to-PK Riot. If you were around in 2007, you remember this riot. It was almost impossible to miss. The Pay-to-PK riot goes by a lot of different names, some of those being the World 66 riot, the End of Free Trade riot, the end of Wilderness Riot, and so on. It started back on the 10th of December in 2007, and went on to become one of RuneScape's longest lasting riots, with it lasting just under a week. As with most riots, it took place on World 66 Falador Square. This riot was about a set of updates known as Jagex's anti-real world trade updates. The main ones being the removal of free trade, meaning there was a limit on how much GP you could give to another player. For example, you couldn't just give someone a dragon dagger as it was too valuable. They would have to trade you something of equal or similar value to balance out the GP. Secondly were wilderness changes, mainly those making it so you could no longer PK other players in the wilderness, and the introduction of the bounty hunter minigame, which was supposed to be a replacement for that. Number 1. The Squeal of Fortune Riot. Back on the 28th of February 2012, Jagex introduced a new feature to RuneScape known as the Squeal of Fortune. Originally it was introduced as a harmless little daily activity where if you logged in you got to spin the wheel and maybe win a good item. This changed about a month later when Jagex added the ability to buy spins on the wheel with real world currency. Players were absolutely furious, mainly because just a few months before, Jagex had removed the ability for players to gamble using GP with some of the most popular methods in the game, those being the horse game and dice games. As a result, players spammed the toy horse emote, which was previously used for the horse game. They did so in opposition of Jagex's changes. Ironically, when the horse game was removed, the emote was changed to say, "Just say nay to gambling," when the wheel itself could be considered just that, a new form of gambling. To some players, it's even considered a Jagex-sanctioned form of real-world trading. Regardless, this was an absolutely massive riot, and had one of the biggest turnouts I had ever seen. And that's it for this one. Thank you as always to my Patreon supporters, whose names are on screen now. Don't forget to drop a like, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.